The world today is changing fast. Yet some things prevail stronger than change. Wisdom prevails. Wisdom guides. It leads the way and shows what's right. Blessed by the wisdom of the ancient philosopher Chanakya. A strategist with a keen eye for defense. The Indian Army and Clause is back with its second edition of the Chanakya Defense Dialogue 2024. The inaugural 2023 edition united top minds from across the world, shedding light on AI, big data and beyond. We set the tone for India's defense leadership with Atmanirbharta as the mantra. In the journey of nation building, we see a common dream where growth is fueled through comprehensive security. A secure nation, a secure region, a secure world where peace reigns. The biggest defense leaders, strategists and think tanks assemble to strike a balance. Partnerships to technical know-how. Security, ecology, culture and more. Together, we strive to put India on the road to fulfilling its dreams of Viksit Bharat. The time has come for India to take its seat as the Vishwa Bandhu and give the world a safer, secure and stable identity. Chanakya Defense Dialogue 2024. Drivers in nation building. Fueling growth through comprehensive security.
We will now go ahead and engage over a pivotal panel discussion on the theme Secure Nation and Prosperous Future, Bridging the National Security and Growth and Development. Discussion will delve into how a secure environment is not just a prerequisite for economic growth, but also a catalyst for sustainable development. Join me in now warmly welcoming our session chair, Vice Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General N.S. Raja Subramani, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Sena Medal and Vishisht Seva Medal. The General Officer was commissioned into the Garhwal Rifles in 1985. He, in his illustrious career, ladies and gentlemen, spanning over 37 years, has served across a wide spectrum of conflict and terrain profiles and has tenanted a host of command, staff and instructional appointments. We will request him to please take the stage. May I now further invite Lieutenant General P.R. Shankar, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal, retired, a former Director General of Artillery, to please step forward. He is a highly decorated officer, the Indian Army with 4 decades of service indeed. He gave great impetus to the Indianization of and the modernization of artillery and was instrumental in induction of guns, rocket and missile systems. The General Officer is now a professor in the Aerospace Department of IIT Madras. Warm welcome to you as well, sir. May we now invite Lieutenant General Madhuri Kanitkar, Param Vishisht Seva Medal, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Vishisht Seva Medal, retired. Well, she assumed the prestigious appointment of Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, Nashik, after 39 years of service in the Indian Army Corps. She is a medical graduate of Armed Forces Medical College, Pune University, serves as a member on the Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. A warm welcome to you as well, ma'am. Thank you so much. May we now invite Shri Oken Tayeng, Honorable MLA of the Arunachal Pradesh. He specializes on adventure tourism and leadership, a member of the National Tourism Advisory Council, Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Well, he is also the chairman, Northeast Chapter Adventure Tour Operators Association of India. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And may I now invite forward, join me in welcoming Shri S.S. Sarma, Scientist G, who's working as Director of Operations in the Indian Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT-IN, with an overall experience of 33 years in computer communications, broadcasting, and cybersecurity. He's been handling computer security incidents reported to CERT-IN and coordinates response and remediation actions for incidents of malicious code infections, botnets, web intrusions, and attacks on industrial control systems. On that note, a very, very warm welcome to you as well, sir.
Our distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, participants. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this curtain raiser of the Indian Army's international flagship seminar, the Chanakya Defense Dialogue. The theme of this year's seminar is Drivers in National Building, Fueling Growth Through Comprehensive National Security. For today's session, the topic that we want to discuss is Secure Nation and Prosperous Future, Bridging National Security with Growth and Development. As you are aware, national security and economic development are interlinked with each other. The chief also, during his talk, referred to this. You can't have one without the other. If you are economically developed, you will be able to spend money towards national security, you will be able to spend money towards technological development, and you will be able to spend money on your defense forces. If you are not secure, you cannot economically develop. There are a number of facets as far as national security are concerned. We have got our four speakers, distinguished speakers here, General Shankar, General Kanitkar, Mr. Sarma, and Mr. Oken Tayeng, the MLA from Arunachal Pradesh, who will be speaking on various facets. General Shankar would be speaking on the overarching aspect between interrelationship between national security and economic development. General Kanitkar, I would like to ask her about issues related to women empowerment and how they impact national security. Mr. Oken Tayeng, I would like to ask him about how border security, border tourism impacts national security and economic development. And Mr. Sarma would be speaking to us about how technology impacts national security, both in terms of its advantages and challenges. I would like to first start with General Shankar to set the stage. Sir, thank you and welcome. I would like to ask you as to how do our strategic national security policies, how do they impact our economic policies? And what is the interrelationship between the two?
Yeah, thanks a lot for that question. At the outset, a good morning to all of you. And thank you, Klaus, for inviting me and the Indian Army for inviting me over on this panel. The interrelationship between economics and security. You know, we all talk of Viksit Bharat. We also talk of Surakshit Bharat. Viksit Bharat and Surakshit Bharat are two sides of the same coin. There is no Suraksha without Vikas. There is no Vikas without Suraksha. And unless we are economically strong, we will not be able to be physically strong, or rather security from a national perspective. And this is best exemplified by Israel. Look at Israel. The way they've invested in technology, the way they've invested in their own economy. They are the biggest exporter of technology, latest cutting-edge technologies as we talk. And if you look at their income profiles and their GDP profiles, it has grown multifold in the past few decades. And as a result of which, they become so strong, they are living in a hostile environment, as we all know. And we just spoke that they are about to enter Lebanon. What is the outcome of that war is a different story. If you look at their entire trajectory from the early days, from the 60s till date, it is their economic prosperity which has given them the strength to defend the nation and be what they are. So I think there's a deep connect between both these. The same thing applies to Russia. Russia has, before embarking on this war with Ukraine, has prepared itself economically and sidestepped all the sanctions. And that's how they've grown and gone where they are. I think with these two examples, I've set the ball rolling, and we could take on things as we go along.
Right, sir. Thank you. Mr. Oken, I want to ask you, our border areas are really important. And the chief also related and spoke about our border villages being the first village rather than being the last village. So how can we promote border tourism to not only enhance our national identity, secure our own cartographic claims, but also integrate the borders along with the nation?
I would like to thank Klaus for inviting me here. This is my second visit to this prestigious premise, and it's always a matter of pride and invigorating, energizing to be in presence of top brass and the heroes and protectors of our country. So I come from a proper border state. You know, we have Bhutan in the west, and Myanmar in the east, and Tibet, China in the north. So, I mean, I'm from the tourism background. You know, I operated in tourism sector over a decade. And interestingly, one of my partners in the beginning of my tourism career was from the army, a gentleman called General Chandan Dugyal. And those days, the infrastructure in early 2000, there was hardly any hotels or any facilities in Arunachal Pradesh. So we always used the army facilities, army hospitality, army backup. Then also my first boss and my mentor, a friend who passed away, a man called, gentleman called Binayshil Oberoi. He was Indian ambassador to UNESCO, and also he was a joint secretary in MOD. So even through him, I had lots of army exposure. So lots of things I've learned in terms of hospitality, housekeeping, definitely come from the military. So now coming back to our topic, you know, for some reason, you know, our border area has been kind of overprotected. You know, it's a kind of area where even civilized cannot access properly. But now we are in a age where infringement doesn't always come from the physical border. You know, it's different from a different medium and different areas. So I'm really glad the government, the current regime has changed the perspective, and then army is more open, the military is more open. Now here we are talking about tourism with army, which is lots of a long due. So, I mean, there's lots and lots to be done. I mean, but at the same time, what is important is we should have a very sustainable approach. The bad thing that can happen, the good thing that can happen. So unless we have a very well planned, clear policy, you know, that has to be in place before proceeding further.
Thank you for that. I'll come back to you again on this issue. General Kanitkar, you have broken the glass ceiling as far as women are concerned. So I would like to ask you as to how do you view, or in your own experience, what are the professional challenges that you faced as you rose up in your career, and how can women overcome these challenges? That's one. And how does the role of women and increasing role of women in various careers, professions contribute to national security?
Thank you so much, and I again thank Klaus for inviting me here and helping me recharge and reboot coming to the armed forces portals once again. I'll start with a little, interesting this thing that when you empower a woman, what is it? I'll give you a simple example. I mean, I hold large number of portfolios today and travel a lot. My husband never comes in, but see how you empowered me, Klaus, For this session, my husband came down from Nasik while I came in from Chennai. So that's a simple, lighter vein.
A big hand, big hand.
So when it comes to women, I think I'll look at it in another way. When you empower, firstly, women form 50% of our population. The gross enrollment ratio in higher education is more than 50% now coming from women. So why should we leave them out in the growth and Viksit Bharat story? So keeping that in mind, I think it's very important that and very good that the Armed Forces is opening its portals to more and more women. And about the glass ceiling, I don't think there was any glass ceiling as such. Yes, it took a gap of 14 years for me to become the 3rd Lieutenant General woman. But as I speak today, we have the DG AFMS a woman, the DGMS Army a woman, and soon the DGMS Navy is going to be a woman. So that is empowering the armed forces, bringing it. And these are the women, you're not just empowering women, but you're empowering the nation. Because when we look at the number of women who are coming in, who are beyond their organization, going back to lead the nation. And in the same way, again, lighter vein, the day I retired and the governor asked me to take over the Maharashtra University of Health Science, which is the largest state health university with 600 colleges in Maharashtra affiliated to it. But in 2 years, from it being an affiliating, laid-back this thing, and with, again, a support of the same buy one, get one free, 2 generals on the campus, and people are calling it the Military University of Health Sciences. So that is, I think, the empowering that the armed forces gives, and that is what we can take back. So I think we can address some of the challenges and way forward subsequently.
Okay.
But I thought I'll just set the ball rolling about the contribution of women in every sphere, coming into the armed forces and then going beyond to give back to the nation.
Thank you, General Kanitkar. I think we can compliment ourselves as the armed forces for having 3 women who are leading our medical services, all 3 of them. So, as far as Mr. Sarma is concerned, now in the previous session, Ms. Palki Sharma also referred to pagers, walkie-talkies, how Israel found the Hezbollah and the security challenges. So I would like to ask you as to how advancement in cyber security as well as technology are contributing to the overall national security, and what are we as India doing to harness these technologies?
At the outset, good morning. It's a privilege to be part of this conversation over here. I am a practitioner of cybersecurity. I am from CERTIN. We are the National Agency for Cybersecurity Incident Response. So first of all, coming to cybersecurity and the technological advantage, needless to say today, the digital transformation has entered into all walks of life, being it the financial, transport, communication, entertainment. As such, from the economical growth perspective and as well as national security perspective, the information that is flowing across our networks and the more and more connectedness of the critical systems, it's all boiling down to a different ballgame of information warfare as well as the connected systems. Coming to cyber security, earlier the computers and computer security is to be a technical domain. Today it's a more of a strategic domain because of the connectedness we have. And it's a vital part of the economy also, the cyber security, because there's always a flow of information and data, and there's always a angle of, from a warfare perspective, the adversaries can steal vital information if it is not protected. And as General mentioned in the earlier talk also, there are creation of narratives. The way information is being propagated earlier is to do advertisements and speeches, and today it's the information flow of information, creation of false narratives is very fast through social media or proliferation of IT. Anybody can create a story, morph the pictures, use the AI and deepfakes to camouflage these pictures and create false narratives. So that's influence operations is another important aspect. And the third aspect is the, because of our way the critical infrastructure is now connected more in the cyberspace, disruption of these critical services is also another dimension that we have to take care. These are the challenges we have in the cybersecurity. And as such, the importance of cybersecurity is to sort of using the advantages of the latest developments like in the blockchain, the AI, for protection of the data and increasing cyber resiliency to continue our services. And in the cyberspace, there is another angle is should be a collaboration between the government as well as the industry and the academia. It's not a single dimension that one agency can do this particular thing, because there are more and more very agile and dynamic technologies coming up, so that the capacity building and skill set and the more and more sophisticated learning and very quick learning and capability building is required in this space, the way we are.
Thank
that's
you.
what
Thank
the
you, Mr.
initial,
Sarma. I'll come back to you with more questions on both the advantages and disadvantages of technology. I would like to come back to you, General Shankar, sir. You spoke about national security and economic development, but I would now like to focus on the issue of border area development and how national security goals can be aligned to border area development. Does development of the border impinge on national security, or it enhances national security? Mr. Oken also referred to the fact that previously we had restrictive policy. We were not allowing anybody to go to the forward areas in a probably misplaced sense of security. So could you elucidate on that, sir?
Thanks a lot. I think after a long time, more than half a century of debate, we have now in India, we're very clear that the progress of the border area enhances our security, where the people of the country on all our borders get connected to one theme all over the nation. Earlier, if you went to Ladakh or to Sikkim or to Arunachal Pradesh, their thinking processes were different. But today that has changed. It has changed with communication. It has changed with roads and all. And then the economic development which has taken place, right? From there, I remember way back in the 80s when I was about to get married, I couldn't communicate from Sikkim down to Chennai. It took me 3 days to communicate. But today you do it in less than 3 minutes at less than 1/300th of a cost. So there's a huge change, and this has triggered a change fully. So I think the economic development of our underdeveloped areas are critical, not only to develop our economy and progress, but also strengthen our security. Because a strong border is a strong system. There's another thing. Today morning we spoke of the Ziokong villages and all that. Look, what is Mr. Xi Jinping trying to do by settling people there? He's defining the border. He says, look, whether it succeeds or not, this plan is a secondary part. But he's defining the LAC, and he says this is China. And if you closely look at it, the Ziokong villages, where the PLA is deployed and where infrastructure has come up, is approximately the line which Chonlai wanted in 1959, right? And similarly, unless you start developing this area, your own territorial integrity and sovereignty is at risk. So I think there's a whole way, different way we have to start looking at things. And I'm sure the way we are going as part of Viksit Bharat, and it's very heartening, to see a MLA from Arunachal Pradesh coming and talking of tourism, which he said, a few years back, all you knew about Arunachal Pradesh were by writings from Vernier Elwin and things like that. I think there's a huge sea change, and this is the right way forward.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. So on that note, I'll come back to Mr. Oken again. So while development happens and we are building infrastructure, it has a flip side. There is environmental degradation. And as tourism also comes in, local communities, while they develop, they also get affected. There's a problem. They start losing their cultures in the guise of commercialization. So how do you look at sustainable tourism with environmental conservation, as also ensuring that the local communities have a role in this and they retain their unique culture? How do you look at promoting this?
Yeah, it's primarily it comes back to what I stated earlier. We need a really well thought out, articulated plan as to how we approach this. First of all, the kind of infrastructure you put up there has to be of dual purpose, meaning it has to serve the military purpose as well as tourism. Things like you can put up watchtowers and helipads, so which can be used for tourism activities, but at the same time, it can be used for military purpose as well. So that way, the resource will be well utilized. And number one, we must have create a value on the product we're creating there. So I think firstly, what would the good thing about this would be, it will expose rest of the countries to the culture and uniqueness of the people living in the border areas, which they are a bit, sometimes they have, their knowledge has been limited. Just like a gentleman, I think, sometime last year remarked that people from North look like European, South looks like African, and East looks like. So just to mitigate those kind of notions, I think it's very important that we expose our countrymen from East to West, West to East. And border tourism as it is has been a very, very interesting, wherever it is. You look at Wagah border or in Rajasthan. And I used to work with a French company. They used to have a caravan. It's a 9-month travel. They start from France, those days when things were good in Syria, Lebanon, Iran, Afghanistan, Bhutan, coming through Arunachal. And it's a bit like a reality show. By the time you spend 3-4 months with somebody, there are lots of fights, some people getting divorced, somebody finding out that his son hasn't done well. There are lots of mind games going on. But the moment they reach the border, the moment they get to More in the Burmese border, and that they know that their permission to cross over has been done, it's always invigorating excitement. So border can be a very good product, but at the same time, nothing is more important than national security. But I think exposing people there, people traveled in the border areas, they can also be a soft surveillance mechanism, so we know what things are going on. Like I stated earlier, infringement is not physical border anymore. There are many, many other spaces that comes from.
Thank you. General Kanitkar, you spoke, you gave us an insight as to what you have been doing and the role of women and as to how empowerment of women contributes to national security. So could you give us some insights as to what policies or initiatives that the government can move forward to ensure that there is more and more participation of women in society, whether it be education, whether it be empowerment opportunities for jobs or contribution to nation building or community development?
I think that's a very, very important question that we need to move towards true inclusivity against tokenism. For example, today, they have a policy that every board of directors on the companies need to have a woman. And I've been sort of asked to join companies which I have nothing to do with, and I've refused. Because I know that it is just for a tokenism, a tick mark that we have a senior lady there. So from that, instead of that, we are moving towards, so I think that DIE spirit, which the armed forces is inculcating by getting women in every sphere is very important. It acts on two ways. Firstly, why are women coming into the armed forces? Because today, I think the nation looks up to the armed forces as one of the most respected, reliable organization. And when a woman dons a uniform, she becomes a role model. So even if, like he mentioned, when you go to the rural parts and if you want to really, and you have girls coming from there and wearing a uniform, there are hundreds of girls who are looking up to that iconic, woman in uniform. And she can then contribute a whole lot. So that's one thing. But the government itself is doing a lot for these policies. And I think we in the armed forces can emulate some of the best practices of the organized sector in taking to encourage women. Because when joining in, I don't think, and the armed forces doesn't do any gender discrimination. In fact, a lot of interviews, I was asked that how did you survive in a male-dominated? And I looked quizzically and said it's hardly male-dominated. It's predominantly male. There's a difference. So I think, but in the medical corps where we joined, we've always worked only for competence with no gender bias. So that's one thing. But however, there were policies. And I'll give a concrete example. Though we trained the same in AFMC, women were given short service only. So when women didn't look at it as a career. And that is why probably more left, especially when they got married, and they didn't have a posting policy to get the spouses to be together at least sometimes. So my husband and me, 24 years, we were posted separately out of 36 years. So that required a lot of resilience to hang on there. And also the professionalism of doing post-graduation, super specialization were a hindrance. So women didn't look at the armed forces as a career. Today, women look at it as a career. They join to continue and give the best to the organization, and that shows because there is a policy change that women have now lead, and today there are so many at top, and all are super specialists in their own right. So this was possible only because of a changed policy, this thing. So permitting that, the posting, this thing of being, co-located as much as possible, but the big problem is when the woman is in the childbearing age. And it continues to be a hindrance when it's looked at. So for that, policy changes will have to come in, just as the IAS has the TDLR kind of, 20% extra. When we take in women, I think the armed forces will need to have that extra numbers so that it permits a woman, because it's her equal responsibility and social requirement that she does take time off to rear the future generation. So I think that is an important policy.
Sir.
Can I have just a word? It's a little big at ourselves. She spoke of male-dominated army. We are all married. We know what our domination is all about.
So, hurrah and a shout out to all the women in the audience. But ma'am, General Kanitkar, I wanted to ask you one question. Previously, we had joint families, and when women had children, their parents, and there was a support system. But today, more and more, there are nuclear families, and that support system is lacking. So, how can the government or even the private sector empower women to continue working even when they don't have this system?
I think that I was sort of, thought that would be the next question, but I think that's the most important. I mean, I could survive because every time I called Wolf, either my in-laws or parents would come, and I said, India luckily doesn't need nannies because we have nannies. But now put that into today's generation. I'm not available for my children at their beck and call. And this is happening in every family, where the grandparents continue to have their own life and careers and are not available for every beck and call. So hence policies which the corporate sector is looking into. My daughter-in-law is an HR person. Flexi time, work from home. For the need times that are possible, can we look at that? But more important, can we provide a support system? And when I was serving, I tried to do that, of mandating creches, which are not, put some ayah and do, but having professionally run creches where people can really get that and they know their child is secure with webcams and everything. So these are some of the issues I think that we need to look into.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sarma, you spoke about the advantages of cybersecurity, advantages of technological empowerment, but there are flip sides also in terms of leakage of information, lack of cybersecurity awareness, and so many scams that are taking place. So in terms of what is the government of India doing and to empower, to enhance security, to coordinate as a whole of nation approach, could you throw some light on that? Also, one more issue with technological advancement, there is also a concern about the right to privacy. So how are we balancing them?
This is a very important question. Today, first of all, most important and disruptive advantage or technological advancement happened is AI, basically. In every parts of life now, students are pursuing more AI, and it's going to be very, very important aspect in the way the things are looked at. So as General mentioned in the morning talk, the AI is essentially dependent on the data. So the AI model or the way AI functions or ML works is essentially on the kind of data you have supplying to the model. So here the issue is while adapting AI, wherein the organizations or individuals as users, people use Gen AI and other models that are possible. Most important thing is to, there is a need to create awareness and training on safe usage of AI. In the sense, while you supply the data of organizational data to an AI model or the outside open source tools, etc., we should be very, very careful about not supplying the organization-specific sensitive data. There should be anonymization of data, and the data you are supplying to the AI models is to be sanitized that way. Second most important thing is from a normal civilian organization perspective, the PII, personally identifiable information, that should not be supplied very easily to these AI models. That is one aspect of using the AI. Second is from an adversarial point of view. Even if you deploy AI and mechanisms and use these things in the technologically, there is always a chance of poisoning your AI model or creating a false narrative by supplying wrong data into the AI systems. That's why the protection of your training data and the protection of your foundation model of the AI is a very, very important aspect while using AI. That is coming to the AI. In general also, because of the way the technology is there in the financial transactions, everybody now using the UPI and digital public infrastructure in the mobile phones, etc. There is always innovation in terms of cyber criminals, and there is always a challenge to create awareness at scale. So we are having a very important programs, like in certain we handle cybersecurity incident, we provide inputs to the information security education and awareness program of the Ministry of Electronics and IT, where we are collaborating with the academicians and research institutions to create content, particularly in the local languages, because we have to reach out to the rural population, students, and we're creating contents for the students, for the parents, for the teachers, for the senior citizens in local languages, so that to explaining about the various kinds of scams that are happening, like the new scam of digital arrest and those kind of things, and creating awareness. Nevertheless, it's a very challenging field, very agile. Daily new developments are coming up, and there is a way. And there are opportunities also in terms of cybersecurity as well as other things also. And we have a advantage in the sense of a large number of young people and more colleges and schools and universities offering cybersecurity courses today. And there is also a need to take a policy decisions to inculcate cybersecurity education within the career at various stages also. That's also very important.
Thank you, Mr. Sarma. Sir, I'll come back to you. And in your second career after retirement from the armed forces, you've done a lot as far as working on technology is concerned and working with the defense forces on technology is concerned. What do you think would be the role, and the chief also spoke about technology and dime T. So what do you think would be the role of technology in enhancing national security? And how should the armed forces equip themselves or keep pace, their procurement procedures on pace with the rapid changes in technology?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a very deep question. I'll take a little time because it's layered. First and foremost, we've spoken a lot about AI. Today the chief spoke about it, and Mr. Sarma has also spoken about it. And it seems to have caught all our imagination. I'll give a slight contra view. I wouldn't say a contra view, an alternate view for which people have to think of. 3 years back when AI came on the scene, it was the big thing, right? When ChatGPT-4 got declassified, ChatGPT-4. But today, a lot of major companies who produce AI have stopped investing in it because they're not getting return on investment, right? So take AI with a pinch of salt. Second thing, AI is getting democratized so fast that you don't need to be original anymore. You can catch AI on the fly, and I think that's where India has to leverage its own strength to get there. But having said that, there are certain core areas where you have to deploy AI sensibly. AI is not, like it's not a paracetamol pill you can give it for everything. You need to be focused on which part of AI you want to use where on a case-specific basis. That much about AI. The second thing, you spoke about technology and how to get it on the armed forces and what we have to look and all that. Again, the way I look at it, I'll take it off from where Palki Sharma asked this question to the chief, and chief gave a very sensible answer. Look, in the field of technology, India is where it is. And we have to fight our war today with what you have, right? And in fact, the current A chief also said, that's one thing, and to be Atmanirbhar and all that, you have to fight with what you have. So whatever you have today, your procurement, whether it's from abroad or from within Atmanirbhar, you have to go ahead. There's no two ways about it. But what do you do tomorrow is the question. How do you explore frontiers of technology to use in a use case tomorrow is the question. You have to invest into technology, right? Look at Israel. Again, I'll get back to Israel. You see the way this whole war is with Hezbollah is, panned out. And for that matter, Ukraine and USSR, Ukraine and Russia. Technology has played a heavy hand in it. There's no doubt. The way wars have been fought, technology has had all cutting-edge technology is being deployed. Whoever thought EW will function the way it did, whoever thought that ECCM and ECM and lot of electronic support measures which we learned in those trees, worked the way they did. And how did they work? They worked with investment in technology. And is this technology only confined to the military domain? No. You look at Pegasus and software like that and all that, which grows across all. So you're looking at a huge civil-military fusion. Yep. And civil-military fusion is not something confined to China alone. Israel has done it. America did it in the last century, right? And something which we need to do in a bigger manner. I think that's the watchword. And then you are there. Now the next question which comes to mind is what are we doing about it? We are probably in the starting curve where we are going beyond the firewall of DRDO for technology. Till very recently, DRDO was the only sole provider of technology for the armed forces. I think the armed forces have broken the shackles and they're going beyond this to get technology into other places. And technology is not only AI, cyberspace, and things like that. You're looking at unmanned systems, you're looking at new technologies, nanotechnologies, quantum computing, which is tomorrow, and whole lot. I have identified about 12 technologies which I keep showing everywhere. I didn't get that slide because if I put that slide up, then someone will say the vice chief and I had a pre-arrangement to what we have to show. Right, but be that as it may, I think we need to start investing into it. We have to take risk because when you invest into technology, there's a risk involved of failure.
Thanks.
But so be it. Before I conclude, I'd like to I'd like to focus on something. Look at today, what we have spoken of. For the first time probably in the history of the army, you had the chief and the vice chief coming on stage and talking, setting stage for a dialogue. And the dialogue has been largely about a lot of technology. I think that's a direction. I think, and to make this happen, I've been interacting for the past 8 years with all the deputy chiefs, all three deputy chiefs, the chief and the vice chief. I think personally, for me, after 8 years, when I see this happening, it's a great change. And full kudos to all this. And I'd like to also thank Dushyant Singh for putting all this together. It's a sea change which is happening. Okay, why is this sea change? I'd like to put this across. Why is this sea change happening is very interesting. And this sea change pertains to the armed forces. Few years back, I couldn't think of what I'm doing today. I'm just putting it across that we are on the verge of establishing a center in IIT for research into future technologies with the army. And I'm proud today that the army is one which is taking this risk and getting in. I might fail in some, I might succeed in some. Why am I proud of the army? The army has broken all shackles. And unfortunately, the other services are not to be seen on this horizon. And I'm making an open statement, it's a challenge to them also. Because I see representatives of other services, one of them is scratching his head, right? And, okay, and this is not my view. I'm being very serious. This is not my view. This is the view of all my colleagues in IIT Madras. Okay? And all I can say is this is a great beginning. Please continue taking the risk. Because if you take risk, you will succeed someday. You might fail today. But someone down the line will succeed. Sir. And all I'll say is wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Sir, in the spirit of jointness and in the spirit of fairness, I must say that while Air Force and Navy may not have engaged with IIT Madras, but the Navy and Air Force are also technologically engaged, and we have copied them at certain places. For example, the Navy already has an AI incubation center, which we are copying. And similarly, we are closely working with the Air Force to look at various aspects. And I regularly interact with both the Vice Chief of Naval Staff and the Vice Chief of Air Staff, and we are exchanging ideas to that extent. I mean, it's not, they are with us, if not ahead of us.
No, I have no doubt about it. In fact, I went to Mazdocks, spent 3 months there before I became the DGRT to learn how they went about their shipbuilding. And after that, when I came and took over as a DGRT, I could effect changes in the artillery system. So there's a lot to learn. I'm just saying at this point of time, that's the state of affairs and the reality on ground. And I'm sure they'll do course correction as we go along.
Oh, thank you, sir. General Kanitkar, final words. Now, I would like you to give some words of advice to the younger generation of women who are just starting and who are already in their careers. What do you think are the challenge? I mean, what do you think they should do? Firstly, to have a good work-life balance, to balance, advance professionally, and where should their focus be?
I think that's very important that once they're coming in, looking at it as a career, keeping on increasing your competence, that is the only way forward. It is, and in that I would say that today I am not just a Lieutenant General retired, but even while serving, the only person on the Prime Minister's Science, Technology, Innovation Council, and that was for the competence. And that I think is the important thing, that if you're professionally competent, you can get into all spheres. For the armed forces itself, I think security goes beyond, like we spoke of gray zones, but I think there are even more. When you look at today, whether it's a biological, we saw COVID. I mean, it didn't require, you need security is food security, security is cyber security. In that, you don't need to sort of only have, you need technical expertise within the armed forces and outside. And the DBT, DST, all the science and technology are really investing in women for this reason. Because if you remember, Mangalyaan went to the thing and most of the scientists were women. The scientists behind the COVID vaccine were all women. So when we come to science and technology, there's definitely a scope, and since we are rapidly moving towards modernization, opening our doors to the technical expertise in whether it's not gender biased, but getting them more and more women in is going to help. And for the women, my advice would be try to be less than perfect, because we tend to multitask. We have better communication skills. Men are from Mars, but we are from Venus. So we are different. And so I don't think we need to be like men or men like to be. I think we need to bring that diversity to the table, remaining women. I think that is the crux of it, and therefore not feel very guilty if we have to take some time out to look after a sick child, which was not the case when I was serving. You kind of felt this thing, but today's young women do not. So I think they are quite balanced. Thank you so much.
Thank you, General Kanitkar. 2 points. Firstly, I would like to compliment General Kanitkar here on the dais for supporting you throughout, and you for supporting him. That's one. And on a lighter note, when you said that women should be less than perfect, I think all women should expect their husbands also to be less than perfect.
Accepted.
Yes. So, Mr. Oken, again, final concluding words. While tourism and border development is good for security, etc., but it also has an effect on communities, like say outsiders coming in, developing hotels, and the benefits not going to communities. So how do we balance between these two?
Before I answer, let me just compliment to what ma'am has stated about gender issues. I would like to, happy to announce that for the first time in our assembly of 6 MLAs, we have 5 women MLAs this time. So it's a matter of pride for us. And then,
so you are standing up for men's empowerment in the assembly?
Not really, not really. What I'm trying to say is the beauty, the grace, the gentleness, the kindness that women bring cannot come from anywhere else. So we are happy to have them. Yeah, so coming back to the topic, like you said, we have to, I think the main thing is we have to go very, very slow and observe where we're leading to, because border areas are not only physically isolated, but it is ecologically very, very pristine. You know, you get to see plants and animals and organisms you don't see anywhere else. It's well preserved because, you know, we don't allow too many people there. So what kind of ecological impact? And also the cultural impact, you know, the delicate, unique culture of the area is not diluted, trampled, and sometimes, you know, cultural appropriation. Now, for example, the Buddha's head is put up in spas and all kinds of places. So, you know, you have things like Christian yoga. I mean, not that, you know, things like that. So we have to, you know, see the fine line between a compliment and then cultural dilution, appropriation. And then the other thing is what I really like to emphasize is the telecommunication in the border area really has to improve. It will serve the purpose of the tourist, military operation, and also the local area. Because now we are at the age where your everything is hooked up. Your health, the time you have your breakfast, time you have your morning walk is all, you know, through mobile interface. So that has to be in a place. So I think about 2 years ago, we were invited along with our CM and Chief Secretary to a place called Yache, which is our Chinese border in Tayeng. So, and we have the Sikh regiment there. It was Guru Nanak's birthday. So by the time we go to a place called, you know, there's a Sumigachir waterfall, I could see the time in my watch and my mobile has changed. You know, it was already a few hours ahead. So I asked one of the officers, they said, no, we are in Chinese time. I said, I mean, I'm technologically slightly challenged, but why can't we have the Chinese look at their mobile phone and show them the Indian Institute time? And on a lighter note, with the Sikh regiment there, उनके घड़ी में जब हमारी 12 बजे दिखेंगे तो उनका दिल में खौफ आना चाहिए. So, you know, those things has to be in place. So the main thing is to go slowly and go organically and involve the local. The local has to understand they are really benefiting from them. They are economically benefiting and they're enriching their, you know, fostering a national pride to understand how much this nation has given to us. Recently, I just came back from Commonwealth Parliamentary Association training in Malaysia. So I sat down with MPs from most of the Commonwealth countries, and then Malaysian MP says, we don't have cars, they don't give us cars, they don't give us housing, they don't give us security. And then maybe that's for their own system, but I was thinking at myself, my blessings. I have 3 bodyguards, which I really don't need. I have a really nice house, and I have a guardian from the government. So now you have to see how much this country has given to us, and we must inculcate this national pride, patriotism to our younger generation, and from my part, you know, through tourism. And I would like to announce, being from a tourism fraternity and with the National Tourism Advisory Council, so we're coming with 3 very unique products in Arunachal. Number 1 is the Ledo road, the Stillwell road, which you cannot replace anywhere else. This will be the only one in the world, and all of you know the history. And many, many countries, their whole tourism activity economy is completely based out of World War II, World War I memorials. In Europe, I was there just before the Normandy commemoration event. I could see how much was going on, you know, in terms of economy. And Manipur, of course, is in a very bad shape now, but even Manipur was doing really well with the Second World War, you know, memorial tourism. The same with Ledo Road, we are initiating, and the other one is I was selected by the government to assist the Americans to recover the lost planes during the Hum flight from northeastern region. So I worked with them for more than 10 years in these bilateral operations. Then we recently set up a museum last year. It was inaugurated jointly by our Honorable Chief Minister and the U.S. Ambassador. Then we had a visit from the Corps Commander. Then we had a joint Air Force contingent from Indian Air Force and a unit of American Air Force who flew in that mission. So that's one, and I would like all of you to come and visit the Hum Museum in Pasigat. And other product we're working on is the escape route of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama when he came from Tibet to India in 1959. Then it starts from a place called, you know, it's right close to Dola Reach. So Kinjamane. Yeah. So I have brought stone carvers from Konoma in Nagaland with these big monoliths, 3 tons of them, and got the Naga Angami carvers to carve in body script describing wherever His Holiness has stopped. So this is 3 unique products I'm happy to share, and I ask all of you to help and cooperate, give your ideas on a personal and professional basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tayeng. I just want to inform Mr. Tayeng also, and also the audience, that the Government of India and the armed forces are working in concert to ensure that the telecommunication in the border areas are improved and we get 4G and slowly and steadily 5G also there. Simultaneously, we are looking at improving the power infrastructure also in the border areas. So, final words, Mr. Sarma, what do you have your concluding remarks on technology, cyber security, and anything else that you would like to say?
Main important strategies, basically what we advise to the organizations as well as main governments and departments, is the development and security building at the design stage itself in the development life cycle. One is secure development, that is one important aspect. Second one is continuous audit and assurance about what we have. And General spoken in the morning about the supply chain. There is a supply chain become more complex now. As such, we should have a strategy for supply chain security in the sense of having the final components of the things what we are getting, that like software bill of materials, those things we are advising the organizations while doing the procurements. You see the component level details. And then important thing is preparing for the unknown and black swan events, like the CrowdStrike event that happened, in the outages it resulted. To test our resiliency for running the operations, that is very important. By doing exercise and drills, we conduct drills for the organizations, and armed force also conduct drills for themselves. Similarly, in the cyber also, the drills and exercises need to be conducted more and more frequently to test our resilience, not the security, but how we continue our operations. That's my
Thank you so much. I am sure all of you would have enjoyed the discussion, but it remains for me to thank our panelists, General Shankar, General Kanitkar, Mr. Sarma, and Mr. Oken. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being here and your valuable insights. And we'll definitely take all that forward. Thank you so much.
Since, with your permission, the woman likes to have the last word.
Yes, ma'am.
And
yes.
I'm out of uniform. I have your
Yes,
permission.
yes, please,
Thank you so
yes.
much. So you asked me about a last thing for the
Yes,
younger generation,
yes.
not just the younger and the older, and every woman and man sitting in this auditorium and beyond, is because today everyone is on a short fuse, is grow together without growing apart. And that's the book he's writing.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, panel, for that compelling dialogue. May I request our Vice Chief of Army Staff to please help us with the felicitation ceremony, and of course our round of acknowledgement as we extend our gesture of gratitude. Thank you very, very much to our panelist, Lieutenant General Shankar. Thank you very much to Lieutenant General Kanitkar, Shri Tayeng, and Shri Sarma. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, the panel emphasized how comprehensive security indeed is foundational to nation building.